The Conservative Islamophobia report came out a day or two ago, and I just think it's really good to compare this to the Labour Islamophobia report, which people may remember we reported on. So the first one here is just the video in which we did this. So Labour at the time were being accused of anti-Semitism by anti-Semitism reports, and in response, they accused themselves of Islamophobia. Real pro-gamer move there. It's like, right, how do we distract from the anti-Semitism? Do we stop being anti-Semites? Nah, we'll just say we're Islamophobes. Great idea. Like, this is actually what they did. It was amazing. I can't believe it. This is where the black flag of Islam meme came as well, because right at the last page, they just have the black flag of Labour, which is just like the Islamic symbol and then the Labour rose. I'm not joking. They put that in there. It's not
the
me.
Black flag flying here.
Yeah. Anyway, so first thing to say, which is Islamophobia is a BS word. It should not be taken seriously, as if it's some kind of Islamophobia. It's an accusation of hatred on the basis of race, is it? The race of Muslims.
Anaphobia is irrational.
Yeah.
There's nothing irrational about trucks of peace.
There's nothing irrational about hating a religion. So, I mean, the term Christophobia exposes this perfectly, because is it irrational to hate Christianity if you want to? Well, no. If you don't like Christianity, you should be able to hate it. I mean, religious hatred, it's going to sound weird, is sacred to a free society. If you can't hate a religion, what can you hate? Can you hate an ideology then? Well, presumably not, because if there's religious ideology and you can't hate that because that's bigoted, that's racial hatred. Well, what if I hate communism? What if I hate Nazism? You can't do that. It's still an idea system. So you have to be able to hate on religious grounds to be a free country. So that's nonsense. If you wanted to use a term to explain actions of like blowing, Finsbury Park Mosque or whatever, you'd used anti-Muslim bigotry, because that's what it was. It is a guy saying that all Muslims believe this when they don't. Say, for example, that all Muslims want to kill everyone they see or something like that, or whatever the heck the guy believed. And then he used his van to mow down Muslims. And that is an act of anti-Muslim bigotry. That makes sense. And that is a term that can be used for basically anything on this basis, and it makes sense. But calling it Islamophobia doesn't work, because then that can be expanded to anything and anything that just criticizes Islam. And here they had that exact problem. The Labour Party defined Islamophobia as a kind of racism that's rooted in racism. So circular definition there. Islamophobia is racism that's rooted in racism, which is found in racism, which is rooted. It's just a waste of his time.
Was it an actual 9-year-old who figured that through?
Well, the entire party is run by 9-year-olds. God, I wish there were 9. It would make more sense. So they also ended up defining in here that if you were an Islamist, you're also an Islamophobe. So it's presumably like Naz Shah's sweating bullets about the whole thing.
How's that? Because they think that Islamists aren't real Muslims?
No, they define that if you believe that, like Kashmir has the right to self-determination, you're an Islamophobe. And it's just like, oh my God. Anyway, so in here, this is just a slide showing that this is Labour Party data. About 90% of all Muslims vote Labour. So it really is the black flag of Labour, folks. So they also said that half of the Muslims in the party don't trust the party on Islamophobia. Well, if you define Islamophobia as broad as possible, that's true. I mean, why would you? Why would you trust them on anything if you define Islamophobia as anything that criticizes Islam ever? So the reason the Tory Islamophobia report has come about is not just directly in response to this, but Sajid Javid demanded it. So if we go to the next one, this is the debate they had about the leadership. Sajid Javid demanded that they have a report on Islamophobia, and they got it because Boris agreed to do it. And in case you're wondering who Sajid Javid is, foreigners, we go to the next one here. He's a conservative, don't you know? So justice, Black Lives Matter, rip George Floyd from Sajid Javid. After the conviction. So it's like, there we go. BLM, vote Conservative. It's like, he knows it's Marxist, he doesn't care. Whatever. So if we go to the response to the Islamophobia report come from the Tories, well, immediately, what was the response? It's a lie, it's a whitewash. How dare they do this? How dare they say that they're not a bunch of Islamophobes? So Tory Islamophobia report is a whitewash, say Muslims in the party, reported by The Guardian. A long-awaited...
Lady Warsi.
Lady Warsi, yeah, we'll get into that in a minute.
Okay.
A long-awaited review into Islamophobia within the Conservatives has been condemned as a whitewash by Muslim Tories, despite it including criticism of the language used by Boris Johnson and a mayoral campaign run by Zach Goldsmith for insensitivity. So if you're looking to criticise the niqab looks like a letterbox, I suppose, yeah, any investigation would look like a whitewash, because that's not a crime. It should never be a crime. But for saying that the niqab looks like a letterbox... I mean, there are plenty of Muslim countries that will agree with you on that fact, which is why they banned it. So, they say Lady Warsi, the party's former chair, who first demanded an inquiry into anti-Muslim sentiment within its ranks, you notice anti-Muslim sentiment, not Islamophobia, disagreed with the review's conclusion that there is no evidence of institutional racism, saying that there were issues from the top to the bottom of the party. I love how it's exactly the same as the race report. Like, there's no institutional racism. This is wrong, there must be. But there's no evidence. Yeah, but there must be. It's like, yeah. So Warsi, as I imagine you're about to say, is a moron on this issue.
Yeah.
So we go to the next link here. So this is Baroness Warsi writing an article for The Guardian, because she's a conservative, saying that Trevor Phillips doesn't understand Islamophobia and whining that Trevor Phillips is an Islamophobe who should be kicked out of the Labour Party. Trevor Phillips is a man who deals with fact and logic, and that is why he ended up getting kicked out of the Labour Party and now is sort of a rogue element.
Baroness Wolsey is scum. I mean, I'm perfectly at ease calling her that. I mean, she is the type of person who is... it's very, very difficult to see her as anything other than just an enemy, again, of the average British person, of the white working-class Brits.
Endlessly calls for censorship on religious grounds.
Yeah,
you know,
she hates us.
I mean, her disavowing Trevor Phillips here and saying he's an Islamophobe is just ridiculous, because if we go back to why Trevor Phillips was suspended as well, so the next article here is the BBC talking about exactly this. Mr. Phillips has been suspended pending investigation over remarks, including expressing concerns about Pakistani Muslim men sexually abusing children in the north of British towns, according to The Times.
Oh, we can't have truth.
Can't have him saying that.
We can't have him talking the truth.
I mean, the Home Office have confirmed that's real, but Baroness Wolsey has a problem with that. It also says,
of course she does,
that there was a complaint over his covers. Sorry, the complaint also covers his comments about the failure of some Muslims to wear poppies for Remembrance Sunday and having sympathy for some of the opinion polls showing the motives of the Charlie Hebdo attackers. So him pointing out that there are community behaviours that are anti-British within the Muslim community makes him an Islamophobe. Criticising the Islamic community, that's Islamophobia, regardless of if it's true or not. Thanks, Baroness Wolsey. Your opinion's worthwhile, isn't it?
It brings to mind something Christopher Hitchens said once. He said, criticise Islam if you want to, and do it while you can.
Yeah, because the right will be taken away from you.
Yep.
So we go back to the article. So we're just going to skip over Baroness Wolsey because she can go F herself. She's completely useless on this topic. So they say in here, the report found that anti-Muslim sentiment was still present at local association and individual levels. So randos might have anti-Muslim sentiment. Okay, like you'll find them with anti-Jewish sentiment and all the rest of it. Anti-white sentiment in the Labour Party en masse as well. So. But claims of institutional racism were not borne out by the evidence. Yep. Except I disagree on one point there. I would say that, no, there are evidence of institutional racism in the Tory party, but I can't provide it because I didn't record the conversation. I've had conversations with Tories who have mentioned to me that positive discrimination does take place within the party for its candidates. And, of course, it's only in one direction. It is discriminating against straight, white, Christian, atheists and men. So there is institutional racism, but it's not the kind the Guardian would care about. So let's move on. So Sajid Karim, who was a Tory MEP for 12 years and has chaired the European Parliament's Working Group on Islamophobia, said the report had failed to identify endemic party prejudice aimed at Muslims. Do you want us to invent some so we can find it?
Yeah.
We've looked for it. There is none. How could you do this? You want me to find some, or you want me to make some, and then we can report on it?
I think that
doesn't exist.
I think that is what someone like him would want. That is exactly what they want. They just make it up, like happens all the time, made up hate crimes and things. That is what he would rather.
So another senior Tory said, this report is a sad reflection on how little the party cares about inclusivity. Good. It shouldn't care about inclusivity. It is the enemy of conservatism. They should care about exclusivity, because that's all that makes anything valuable. And remember, as Carl says, inclusivity for the left is not what anyone thinks it means of, we'll just be nicer to people. No, it's about the lowering of standards. It is taking standards to zero, which is why they're happy to have people in dog suits at pride parades in front of kids. I mean, really, is that where you want to go with your fetishizing of inclusivity? Anyway, the Prime Minister was cleared by a majority of an independent panel over a complaint that he broke the party's code of conduct in a Daily Telegraph column in 2018, in which he described Muslim women who wear the burqa as looking like letterboxes and bank robbers. Wrong, it's the niqab, but whatever. Can't even expect accurate reporting from The Guardian. Johnson said he was sorry for any offence taken. It's not sorry for the comment. Sorry for you being butthurt.
Yeah, sorry for any offence taken is quite different to just being sorry, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm sorry you're dumb.
Like, if you're butthurt, your problem, not mine.
I'm sorry you need to hear me say the sorry word, but I'm not actually sorry. Sorry.
Yeah. So he told the Singh investigation, would I use the offending language in my past writings today? Now that I'm Prime Minister, I would not. Yeah, it's because you're Prime Minister and you've got to keep your mouth shut for everything. But you probably should if you had any balls in that issue. You should just still, they look like bank robbers. Well, you kill me. Because if you go back to the original article, it's ridiculous. So if you go back to the one here, as you can see, it's Boris Johnson arguing, yes, the burqa is oppressive and ridiculous, but no, that's not a reason to ban it. And the offending comments is him saying in here, it is absolutely ridiculous that people should choose to go around looking like letterboxes. Something many Muslim countries will agree with, which is why they banned it.
Like in Turkey, you're not allowed to wear it, are you? In Turkey, is that right?
I think that's correct. But we're talking about the niqab here as well. We're not even talking about the hijab. We're talking about the niqab, where you've got a slot like a letterbox. That's the complaint. If a constituent came to my MP surgery with her face obscured, I would feel fully entitled, like Jack Straw, to ask her to remove it so that I could talk to her properly. If a female student turned up to the school or university lecture looking like a bank robber, then ditto. That's not Islamophobia. That's not anti-Muslim bigotry there. That's the equal application of custom and law. Someone comes to you, doesn't matter what their religious beliefs are, if they're doing this thing, I will not talk to them. That is not anti-Muslim bigotry, but it is Islamophobia, because that's the difference here. It could be a fear of Islam, because the guy's wearing as Boris Johnson describes, the bank robber uniform there, but it is not anti-Muslim bigotry. This is why the term is important and why the Tories should not have accepted this term at all. I mean, it is in law. Get rid of it. Get this term out of there and instead replace it with anti-Muslim bigotry, because then all of this makes sense. The fact that they're coming after you for saying that the niqab looks like a letterbox. It does. Most Muslim countries will agree with you on that. It just does. There's no complaint about this. That is not anti-Muslim bigotry, though. But there could be you being fearful of Islam. It's not fearful of letterboxes.
The thing is, a letterbox is actually more friendly and inviting. It's got a bright colour, at least.
Well, you can get multicoloured niqabs. I mean, I don't know how many people wear them.
Yeah, I don't think they'd be particularly encouraged. That's against the point of it, really, isn't it?
I'm not sure how ISIS and Saudi Arabia would feel about it.
His overall point and the title of this article, if you scroll up, John, I mean, even that...
The niqab should be legal, and then we should apply the law equally. That's what they're upset about.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't even agree with that. He says it's oppressive, etc., etc. There's no need to ban it. Well, I don't agree with that.
Yeah, I wonder how his mood's changed on this.
No, it is oppressive.
A lot has happened in 3 years.
Why don't we ban it? I mean, like places like, I think Turkey, I might be getting that wrong, anyone in the comments
Turkey,
going mad,
France, Tunisia,
but there are a fair
Morocco,
few Muslim countries, aren't there, that ban it. So what's the problem with that? Why can't we copy that?
Tunis, Islamophobic nation. Anyway,
well.
So in response to this report that says there's no institutional racism, Ho's mad, because Ho's always mad. Ho mad that we're going to look at today, Ash Sarkar. Islamophobia isn't an institutional problem in the Conservative Party, report finds. Up next, an interview with Michael Fabricant. In case you're wondering who Michael Fabricant is, he's a based MP. And so his crime, if you just Google his name and then Islamophobia, first thing that comes up is this article from The Guardian. So if you get the next one up, this is just Tory MP will face no further actions for Anglo-Muslim relations tweet. In case you're wondering what on earth you could be complaining about that. In the tweet, Fabricant wrote, "Your spite and unpleasantness neither does the cause of tolerance in this country nor the cause of Anglo-Muslim relations any good at all." The tweet was later deleted. I wonder if you can guess what's wrong with it. And it was replaced with, "Your spite and unpleasantness neither does the cause of tolerance in this country nor the cause of relations between Muslims and non-Muslims any good at all." He replaced Anglo with non-Muslims. And he says why he did this. So he's asked about it. He says, "I deleted it because people chose to misinterpret it." True.
Well, let them. Jesus, why do people just keep capitulating?
Well, it's not really capitulating in my mind there, because he's like, these people are just complaining that I've said Anglo. I mean, maybe I agree that he should have just kept it up. It is technically correct. Incorrect, because you could have an Anglo-Muslim. Like, the Anglo person could become a Muslim, that's sure.
It's really
true.
Beside the point. It's arguing about a grain of rice when there's an elephant in the room. Ultimately, he's right, he's saying.
But that's his crime.
Yeah,
that's
right.
Peak Islamophobia, according to Ash Sarkar. Someone saying Anglo instead of non-believer. Oh, boy. That's that. You need to kick him out of all society for that. Meanwhile, you're calling for gender communism. So on the next one here is just Ash Sarkar complaining again because Ho's mad. On the Conservative Islamophobia report, it's an absolute whitewash. Last year, a sitting Conservative councillor tweeting under the name Crusader Ian, tweeted expressing the sentiment that I deserve and invite racist abuse. Liar. Lie. We can look at the tweet itself. So if you do on the first image here, and then we'll go to the next one for his statement. So if you go to the next one here, this is what he actually said. Maybe if you didn't fill every tweet with divisive language, you wouldn't be abused so much. The kind of language you choose to use sets the tone. So him saying, Crusader Ian over here, saying that you should be nicer online if your community is so toxic. Essentially. It's not crime.
Are we
it's
allowed,
not Islamophobia. It's not anti-Muslim bigotry.
Are we allowed to ask what Ash Sarkar's problem actually is.
Well, we'll see it. So if you go back to the
What's her
image
boggle?
there.
Exactly.
So this is what she wrote, and this is the messages she got sent. So this is Crusader Ian messaging Ash Sarkar. Ash Sarkar is an anti-white Bengali with an IQ of 105. Next tweet, Ash Sarkar, this is normal, you thick Bengali. Next tweet, Ash Sarkar, climate change isn't real, Bengali thicko. Ash Sarkar, the next tweet, Ash Sarkar is an anti-white Bengali that needs re-immigration ticket. Next tweet, Ash Sarkar, Bengalis have an average IQ of 77. So there's two complaints, possibly, from there, perhaps, that he said you have an IQ of 105. Comes to that in a minute. And also that he said you're Bengali, which isn't racist abuse. That's just him calling you Bengali. Unless you're not Bengali, then okay, fair enough, then we'd find something. Let's go to the next link here, which is just IQ data. So if you can scroll down, I wonder if you can hover over Bengal there. So if you go on the map, you can, like, the map's interactive. So if you can't do it, don't worry. But if you go to this link, you will find the Bengali average IQ, 77. So his last tweet there, when he said the average IQ in Bengal is 77, was correct.
Is it really?
According to this data, yep. So
that seems...
Yeah,
disastrously low.
Bangladesh,
right?
77 IQ average. So his
average.
His last tweet was correct, but not only that, when he said you have an IQ of 105, it wasn't a diss. That was a big up. Come on, you're in the higher echelons of Bangladesh.
I thought that. I mean, it's not amazing, but that's not sort of completely, absolutely through the floor, is it? 105. I mean, it's
in comparison,
nothing to write home about, but 105 is okay. But
brain.
An average of 77. That seems like you're dealing with.
That's the data. You can't argue with it. But if we go to the next one here, so I mean, maybe she's not Bengali. Maybe he's abusing her on the basis of calling her Bengali because she's brown. Well, this is an old tweet of mine, but I don't know if Ash Sarkar is British or not. But I sure know that she doesn't know. So we click on the first image here. This is one of her tweets. I'm Bengali, so probably wouldn't have a great deal of fun in the early 40s. So she's calling herself Bengali. So Crusader Ian here calling her Bengali. That's not abuse. That's you. It's your own words he's using there. But I mean, you've got a point. There's her here saying, lol, F off, I'm not British. So she's just finding herself as not British in this one. And then the next one.
Cool beans.
Mate, I'm campaigning for the abolition of private property, but I'm neither English nor a nationalist, and I would not want to be. So she's not English or British, she's Bengali, according to her. Except then we have the next one, which she also says...
The abolition of private property. What a moron.
Point number 2 here, quote, I am British, you absolute melt. So she's British and not British, and English and not English, and also Bengali. But if you dare call her Bengali, that's racist abuse.
Just anything and everything at all times. Just saying whatever it takes to try and win a point at any given moment. I mean,
if you say something, you're an Islamophobe.
What is that? That's just a complete lack of any conviction, isn't it? It's just nothing. It means you're just an empty bottle, just a room without a view. What is she? Who is she?
She'll literally say anything just to get a hit on the Tories there and call them Islamophobes, even though there's nothing there. So, yeah, Tory Party Islamophobia report, nothing in it. The Labour one, that was actually full of data and some pretty shocking admissions, but okay. Yeah, nothing burger. Good job.
If you enjoyed this segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can watch the full broadcast live every weekday at 1 PM UK time on lotuseaters.com.